Good afternoon. My name is Sam Apata. Thank you for being part of this next session, which is the series on the future of job creation, of sustainable job creation. By privilege, I'm the founder of Pitch A Lot, and Pitch A Lot is a pitching platform for entrepreneur. Either you're a business or a social entrepreneur, you need to know how to pitch your business model canvas in order for you to be investable. So we invite entrepreneurs into our studio, and we give each entrepreneur 1 hour to be able to repeatedly pitch their business, and we edit the video into a 3-minute clip, and we update that, we upload that on our website as a access to funding or access to market tool for the entrepreneur. So if you are pitching for access to market, we'll direct you and we'll lead you in that part. And if you are pitching access to funding, we also lead you in that part. And we started this series because we know that there is a lot. We know that one of the triple challenge of this great nation of South Africa is unemployment, apart from poverty and inequality. So we organize this session so that we are able as entrepreneurs to be able to speak on, and engage on how we are going to create this job and also reduce the level of poverty in our country. So we started on Monday, and this is the 3rd series of it, and I'm not alone. We are a team. I've got a moderator, and we have able panelists also that we're going to be engaging together. So they're going to speak to us, but more than that, please, you're welcome to ask questions and to give comment, because as entrepreneurs, we are the ones that are going to create the jobs that the government has, prescribed. They can't, they won't. We are the ones that are going to create the jobs, and we have to talk and engage about it. So to introduce the moderator for this session today, and the topic we see on the board is making job creation and entrepreneurship support and development the core of public-private policies. So I have in our midst the Mr. Rapelang Motsumi. He's going to be our moderator for this panel. Mr. Rapelang is the Chief Executive Officer of DB Business Consultants, and he's an activist. He's an entrepreneurship activist. He has done a lot. He has been profiled a lot in different media platforms. So not to take too much of your time, please let's put hands together for Mr. Rapelang.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, I'm live now. Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. My name is Rapelang Motsumi, as it has been stated, and I'm just going to moderate today's topic that you have seen on the screen: making job creation and entrepreneurship support and development the core of public policy. So today's session, the most important thing is that we're trying to understand how policy intervention can be able to help in creating the job creation that we need the most. So I'm just going to invite to the front my panelists. We have Mr. Saki Zamxaka. Can Mr. Saki Zamxaka come to the front? And we also have Ms. Zanele Luvuno. Can they just please come to the front and just take a seat there? Okay, I'm just going to go through their profiles very quickly. It's a very long profile. You just bear with me. So Mr. Saki Zamxaka is a group CEO of GGDA. GGDA stands for Gauteng Growth and Development Agency. So Mr. Saki Zamxaka joined GGDA as a group CEO in March 2006. Prior to joining the GGDA, Mr. Zamxaka was the Chief Executive Officer of a division of Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa. PRASA Technical, a position he held from 2012 April. Before that, he served as Chief Executive Officer of Autopex, also a subsidiary of PRASA, trading as Translux and City to City, where he held the helm for 3 years since April 2009. Saki has intensive experience in project management, development economics, and also has a keen interest in venture capital as well as promoting new industries for development. Mr. Zamxaka started off his career in 1999 as a project assistant at Levy Economics Institute, Bard College in New York, where he served as a research assistant while completing his studies at the college after being awarded a scholarship. He then went to lecture economics in public policy partnership at the University of Western Cape. During his tenure at the UWC, he held prestigious University Council membership, where he was first a Senate member, University Council, and executive. And Saki proceeded to join government in 2003 as a senior economic analyst, 2005 as a director responsible for stakeholder management and parliamentary services in the Ministry of Transport, I beg your pardon. Still remaining in government, he moved to Ministry of Agriculture and became economic advisor to the then minister in 2006. So I'll just skip it a little bit. It's a little bit very long. So I'll just go straight to Ms. Zanele Luvuno. Ms. Zanele Luvuno currently serves as a managing director and shareholder of Transcend Talent Management, a leading transformation talent and leadership consultancy firm committed to sustainable transformation initiative in South Africa. Transcend Talent Management offers a comprehensive array of services that include board advisory, trusteeship, advisory and selection, executive search, partner selection for ownership transactions, profiling for transactions, succession planning and recruitment. They are a part of Transcend Group of companies who major in Black Economic Empowerment, Black Economic Empowerment Consulting and Advisory. Transcend Group offering include social responsibility, transformation, and economic empowerment solutions to corporate clients and multinational in South Africa and neighboring economies. Transcend Talent Management significantly employment equity, employee share ownership plans, and broad-based empowerment structure, and deliver insight solution that and recommend to client. So I will just end it here. It's very, very long. I won't read all of it, but these are our panel of guests. So the way their profile is very long, it gives me a suggestion that they have all the questions, that they can answer all the questions that are here in this room. So just very quickly, shooting straight to the first question, I just want to know from you, Mr. Saki, that out of all these policies of the government, you know, policy is a very nice word that politicians love because it makes them look good. That as long as there is a policy, then it looks like they're doing something very, very important. You know, there was another politician, they were asking him a question that, Minister, what about this problem? And he just said that, you know, in fact, there is a policy in place. The government has a framework in place to deal with your questions. So it always makes politicians look very good. So I want to know from you, Mr. Saki, that out of all the policies that are there, how far are we in the impact that has been created by those policies? Are there measurable results that we can pinpoint and identify that such and such a policy has contributed immensely in the job creation effort that we have seen in the country? So are there policies that you can talk about to us that have shown much impact in terms of job creation?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I mean, I think to be fair to politicians and even bureaucrats, there's not much they can really do beyond policies and making sure that a lot of the things are actually implemented. I think where often you find problems is there is very little enforcement on some of the policies. So I'll make an example. The National Treasury has put out regulations that 30% of certain contracts, I think beyond 30 million or whatever the amount is, there must be subcontracting, and those must be South African companies that are SMMEs. But a lot of procurement that happens in government and happens even in municipalities and state-owned companies often doesn't comply with that. What that means is that SMEs that should be getting opportunities, they are not getting those opportunities. Same thing with BEE and BEE legislation and enterprise development. You have many companies with big procurement spend that are not complying, and they always find easy ways around it. They will set up not-for-profit companies which they donate in and do all sorts of funny things to try and not comply with BEE legislation. So for me, I think while there's a lot of blame that can be put on politicians and government, I think as citizens we also often don't hold those non-government entities to account on their actions and what they're doing. So for me, I think if enterprise development was done in good spirit by business, there's a lot that could be done. I mean, we've seen even anti-competitive behavior where you collude on price or push price down means that SMEs can't get into the market. So for me, those would be some of the key policies I think have a potential to create employment, but I don't think much is being done to enforce that there actually is application of those policies.
Okay, thank you very much. So to you, Zanele, I know that you have extensive experience in dealing with the BEE legislation or triple BEE legislation. So I want to understand from you the impact that the entire BEE has had on job creation and the increase on employment. Because some people may want to believe and think that BE has only rather been, has not managed to become more incremental in the job creation, but rather only transformational. So where is the balance between it being only transformational as well as being incremental in increasing the jobs that are there? Because people believe that it's all about removing this person and replacing them with another person without realizing an incremental impact.
So I think, is this on? So I think with regards to transformation and BEE legislation, with regards to job creation, we only have to look at the Commissioner's report on employment equity. The statistics still show that in South Africa, most jobs and most training and development and skills upliftment opportunities and promotions are going to white males in South Africa. So the legislation is, yes, indeed in place from a jobs perspective. So there is employment equity targets in organizations, there's management control targets in organizations, but there's very little, I think, being done around the enforcement. To your point, I think one of the biggest challenges we have with BEE and the BEE scorecard as a policy is on the implementation side. If companies don't comply with BEE, they just get given a penalty. Most of these organizations are building those penalties into their budgets. Big multinationals, big listed organizations, they just build those fines and those penalties into their organizations. So I think it then becomes really important when we talk about economic growth and economic development that we start to look beyond jobs and job creation, and we start to look to forums such as these, and we start to look to what we can then do around developing policies which really do support entrepreneurs, policies which make it easier for entrepreneurs to access financing and funding, policies that make it easier for entrepreneurs around regulation and sort of the regulatory environment, access to research and development, access to facilities. I have a friend of mine sitting in the back there. She's with Barclays. I hope you don't mind me shouting you out, Zozi. She's with Barclays. She sits with the trade facility, looking for individuals that looking to expand BEE business and find individuals that she can assist to grow their businesses. But I think the regulatory environment becomes quite a challenge in terms of how you access that funding, and also just knowledge and access to the information, knowing what is out there, and the research and development and the skills and development and forums such as this, which then start to be able to make that accessible to Black South Africans, I guess.
Yeah, thank you very much. So Ms. Saki, just speaking from her point, she identified that there's a problem with understanding what is out there. So how simplified are these policies for ordinary people to begin to understand them and interpret them and be able to appropriate it for themselves, just so that they make they come of a great assistance to them. So how have we tried to make sure that all these policies, they are translatable to ordinary people on the ground, especially the poor? What does a policy mean to a poor person out there? Do they even understand what are some of those policies for and how they can assist them?
No, granted, I mean, there's always, I think, criticism on how government reaches out, and there's always a lot more that can be done to try and communicate. But in the province, there's a couple of things that have been done, and we'll see with time how effective they are. We have here in Santin what we call an investment center, largely meant for corporates or small, medium-sized enterprises than somebody starting out. And the point with it is that you have all the government departments you need to get a business going or to expand. As I'm saying, the focus has largely been on existing businesses. But outside of that investment center, which is on 1 Centum Drive, there's the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, and they've been going to townships. They have a bus which typically would have individuals from the commission that registers businesses, what used to be CIPRO under the DTI. They would have revenue services to register for tax. So they try and reach out physically to provinces through the Innovation Hub. We've developed what we call Ekasi Labs, which are basically incubators in different townships. So there are programs to try and reach out and make the services accessible to those individuals interested in starting a business or those who have business to grow them. But as I'm saying, you may sit here and not know about them, and that's why we come to events like this, so that people can know how to access that. We have the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency that's there to help with export development, or people who want to invest in Gauteng. There's the Enterprise Propeller. So I think there's different levels. For entrepreneurs, I think there's a lot more initiative that you have to do to try and get the information. But for the ordinary citizen who then wants a job or wants to start a business, I think there's a bit that we can do. But there are some structures, as I said, to try and reach out and make the services a bit accessible.
Okay, talking about the structures and incubators and institutions and all that, the ANDE has just released their report that there's about more than 340 support institutions that are there to assist the entrepreneurs. And I mean, there are so many of them, so I want to pick from you, Zanele, that do you think that out of all these institutions that are there to support the entrepreneurs, have we seen so much results given the number of them that they are? Because we find that most of them, I mean, the 340 only that have been identified by the ANDE report. Otherwise, there's still many other more that have not been captured in the report. But given that there are so many of them, do you think that we are realizing the impact that has been done? And also given that they are working in silos, there is no